Hey, everybody, it's Chris Jesty, and joining me today is none other than the illustrious, dangerous, and wonderful.
Pirate.
He's back. It's been a while, Pirate. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to digging in here again. I got my tea, got coffee somewhere. That would be a good. Oh, that's a tea bag still in there. Oh crap.
Whoops. Hopefully the tea bag's not in the coffee.
No, but this is going to taste like a bunch of bitter. Anyway,
Well, we can't win them all. But today we're going to be going over our Tukkayid in the New Year tournament experience or event experience so far. I think we both completed both of our matches, all four of them each. Is that right, Pirate?
yep, I did all four. Got my fourth one done just this other day, and also got one of the DLC missions in too.
Oh yeah, I did do a DLC mission. I forgot which one it was, but it was. I think I won it. I don't remember who I played either. It's been so long. It feels like forever ago since I've played some of these games, let
As one
alone since we've casted a match.
as one downside of doing it over a month is I've noticed a lot of people get super duper excited and they just want to blitz through everything really fast, and then there's a lag, and then maybe they get the next game in, and then there's a lag, and it is a little hard between that and all the other events going on at MRC to keep up with exactly what happened.
Yeah, and heaven forbid you got a random ranked game here and there in between, and now there's a monkey wrench thrown into everything.
I know. I'm just waiting on Sam to update the combat scores because I know in preparation for other matches, including was it Brawl in the Bluegrass, I've been turning in games left, right, and center. So it's just been a whirlwind.
Well, I'm glad one of us is. I've barely gotten any games in lately, outside of tournament matches anyway. But I'm hoping to remedy that in the near future now that things have calmed down a little bit in the real world. With
Uh,
that being said, you want to go ahead and start getting into these lists here?
Absolutely. So I see you got yours thrown up here, and that's not the right word for it, but visuals matter.
Yes, yes, they do. And this should be going on YouTube, so they will be able to look at it. Uh, so I'll go ahead and go over my list first. I played, if I'm not mistaken, Ghost Bear, if I remember correctly, for Tukey in the New Year. Uh, and I supported Ghost Bear because you could support multiple clans, or you could pick between which clan you were backing that was at Tukey if you're a clan player. You didn't have to play any of those clans, but I decided to stay in theme and stick with Ghost Bear through and through. So we'll go from the top down. I've got a Peregrine Horned Owl at number two at 3-4. We'll pull this up and take a look at it real quick, talk about it, and I'll do a review of. I mean, we will both do reviews of our lists at the end after we talk about all of our matches and see how they went. But right now, I'm just going to do an overview of the units. That way, when I say the Peregrine, you know what's on it, or I've at least told you what's on it. I don't have to feel guilty about you not knowing what's on it. So it's a 696. So it's pretty quick. 20 heat sinks total. 96 out of 119 armor, which isn't terrible for 35 tonner. And it's got one, two, three, four, five, six LRM fives. That's it. That's all the weapons it's got. Nothing else. No lasers. Just these LRM fives. And it jumps a lot, and it's pretty cheap. Not as cheap as I would like, but it's cheap for a clan mech. Any thoughts on this one, Pirate?
Well, I don't like LRM5, so first off, that sounds terrible. But
Uh, Me either. And I threw this in just to give it a shot, see how it goes. They are clan LRM fives, so these are like bad medium lasers or long range medium lasers that don't do 5 damage, or wherever you want to look at it. It's a ER small laser, extra ER small laser.
no, I get it because I've had fun running the baboon lately, and it's basically three LRM5s on a speedy boy, and it's it's a fun ride, but man, it is so hard to shake my direct fire weapon bias. Just give me PPCs and as many as you can.
And yeah, I don't think I ever fired this. indirect, except maybe once or twice. This was to be jumpy, annoying, and get in people's rear arcs and start poking them.
And the other downside of clan LRMs is okay, there's no minimum range, so you're going to use that feature pretty often. But the specialty ammo, I'm trying so hard to learn inner sphere LRMs, and I'm learning that without specialty ammo, it's tough. But before I bash on this too much, I know you said you're going to wait till the end to cover how it did, but you asked for my thoughts, and the first one was a resounding raspberry.
And I'll give a little spoiler. It definitely was not the MVP of my list. I'll tell you right now. But it performed decently. I will say it didn't do terrible. At least not as bad as you might expect. It was there to charge and DFA, and I did both of those things with it, or at least DFA multiple times with it. So it wasn't meant to be shooty. It was meant to be annoying, really. And I think it was annoying. I just think that another unit would have performed the annoying bit a little bit better. Next down is the illustrious elemental battle armor, flamer type. Oh, by the way, the Peregrine came in at 3-4 at 1500 battle value, which is very expensive for what it brought. Okay, the elemental flamers, they jump for 3. They've got 2 shots of the SRM2, and they've got flamers, which can do heat and damage. If that optional rule is turned on, if not, they do heat or damage, which is some built-in utility to the flamer.
Nothing wrong with some elementals, and flamers just mean that if you're just out of range of a leg attack, you're dumping heat on somebody, and those SRMs will punish them. So I like it.
Yeah. So one thing to note, this Tukkayid in the new year, it was set to a specific year, if I'm not mistaken, that we had to use units up till. And salamanders and some of the other battle armor existed after that year. So the only real battle armor you could bring were the elementals, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was 3052. I mean, it's a year of Tukkayid.
Yeah, so it was right around there. And we're going to skip down to the bottom here because we're already talking about elementals. And I brought another set of elementals, the laser type, also squad 5, also 3-4. Also solid. The only reason I switched from flamer to laser is because you can't do two of the same. If not, they would have both been flamer.
The only thing that makes it jump out to me is you got him at 3-4s. I'd have probably done him at 3-4-3s just to get those leg attacks. So you were going more for the shooty or just ease of doing math?
I usually go for the shots when it comes to elementals, depending on the situation. I rarely actually do leg attacks, and I almost never do swarm attacks. The only time I will tend to go for a leg attack is if it's a fresh assault mech that hasn't been hit by anything or heavy.
That's
If,
fair.
yeah, if not, I'm going to use those flamers to heat them up or damage them because 7 to 8 damage is a lot better than 5 damage or and a crit chance if you and not getting the crit is a feels bad when you could have done more damage possibly not in the legs.
That's definitely true. I kind of look at it. First of all, I think battle armor terrible, so I try not to bring him at all anyway. But I just like my big stompy mech action. I'm sorry. And
And
if I
here I am, a battle armor enjoyer. I wouldn't say aficionado by any stretch of the term, but I do think if you're a clan player, you need to get proficient with battle armor in order to fight the inner sphere on an equal footing.
well, and there's a lot more events that will allow battle armor than vehicles, but and if it's not Jin battle armor or something with the word Fire Drake after it, I kind of prefer just a Scorpion tank. But it does fit in theme, and there are valid reasons to take battle armor, so I won't poo on it too much.
It's just a differing of opinions, nothing more. So not much to say about the battle armor. They're good. If they're great at catching bullets for bigger mechs. They're if you can keep them alive and not drop them out in the middle of an open field, so they get shot with no TMM. So they're an all around good harasser unit.
Well, and Crit Seeker, because all those men do individual crit chances. So that's 5 lasers for 5 crit chances, and it's basically an LBX shot at that point.
Absolutely, which is one of the reasons I enjoy battle armor so much, is seeing them get those crits and or head hits.
Not for today, but I think there's some battle armor that has like an SRM 4, and you can take it in a squad of 6. I'll have to find that again, but I remember somebody talking about like a 30 damage alpha strike. It was gross, but we'll go
Oh,
over that another day.
yeah. It's probably an assault battle armor that does not jump for 3, which means they do not have as much of a TMM and are easier to hit.
So tell me about this stopping hawk.
Close enough. It is a stooping hawk. This is a 55-ton mech. It's a Ghost Bear original, so it's right on theme with Ghost Bear. This list was fairly fluffy, if you didn't notice. So it's 585 movement profile, standard 275 fusion engine, no XL here in this clan mech, surprisingly enough. And it's got 20 heat sinks total, and 172 out of 185 possible armor. So it's fairly well armored for a 55 tonner. Think of this as kind of like a clan Wolverine, in that it's really solid at the 55-ton weight limit.
Well, it's got that UAC 10 there, so it's definitely something that you want to get relatively in close and take hits as well as deal them out.
Yeah, definitely. This was my commander. It was kind of the anchor of my list. It's got, like you said, the UAC 10, an ER medium, and medium pulse in each arm as well. And it's got 3 tons of ammo for that UAC. So you can double tap every turn if you so chose, but you don't really have the sinks to do that,
Wait,
especially if you're jumping.
does it take extra heat to double tap?
Yeah, you pay for both shots when you double tap with the UAC.
Oh, I just set mine to double tap like by default because I didn't know that. Whoops.
Yeah, so it goes from 3 heat to 6 heat. So, I mean, it's more damage if you hit with both shots, but it's not guaranteed.
No, but I mean, and that's not me being, naive for the sake of talking. I literally didn't know that. So I've just been firing, on 11s in double tap mode just because I can.
Well, I mean, if you're on 11s, and you're probably not in range with your ER mediums or medium pulses anyway, so go for it.
True.
But yeah, there's plenty of ammo for the UAC 10 on this thing, and there's plenty of armor. I enjoy this mech. It's one of my favorite designs. It's very similar to my favorite mech of all time. But what are your thoughts on it, Pirate?
I mean, like I said, it's definitely got the right armor and weapon assortment. It's got the jump jets to get in there and brawl. And I do love a good brawler in it. 28 CT armor and 21 on the sides. It it can take an ERPPC and keep going, which is a pretty good metric if you're looking at something in the clan era that's going to need to just dominate an area of the field. I wouldn't want to get too close to that thing.
Yeah, it definitely was my heaviest hitter and zone control. Well, almost my heaviest hitter. We'll get into that in a little bit. But next up is the Dragonfly Viper C. It's a solid mech. A lot of clan players should know this mech. It's the cheapest Jump 8 clan mech that we have in our arsenal, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right because I've noticed that because I always wanted the prime for the pulse lasers, but I've seen both you and other players using that Dragonfly C a lot in the past like 2 3 months.
Yeah, so there are other lighter mechs that do jump for 8 later on, but in the early clan era, Succession Wars and Clan Invasion, and I think even up to like Civil War, if not Jihad, when you start getting some of those bird mechs like the Iron Sparrow or whatever it's called, or the Butcher Bird, I don't remember what the name of it is exactly. But there are some clan mechs that can jump for 8, but this is the one we get in Clan Invasion, and this is pretty much the cheapest jump 8 mech for this era. For clans, anyway. The Inner Sphere gets the Spider. So for us as a clan player, it's Chase the Spider. For them, it's Chase the Viper / Dragon. So it's 40 tons, as we already mentioned. It's 812-8 movement profile, 20 heat sinks total. Standard engine, which is nice. It's got 134 out of 137 armor, so it can take a little bit more of a hit than you might expect for something that's jumping for 8. And it's got 2 ER mediums in the left arm, 2 flamers in the right arm, 4 machine guns, 2 in each of the side torsos, and a flamer in the center torso, and way more ammo than anyone ever needs for a machine gun. Oh, and it's got an active probe, which helps for some of the objective-based missions when they come up. So this does it all. It's your battle armor taxi. It's got decent range. It can heat up mechs or just unload with a whole bunch of crit sinking. I like to keep the flamer elementals with the dragonfly, so that way I can really heat something up with all the flamers between the elementals and the dragonfly at the same time, if possible.
Now, are those machine guns in an array or anything? Like, could you rapid fire if that rule was turned on?
They are not in an array, but I think you can still rapid fire, even if they're not in an array. You just have to pay the heat with the rapid fire rule on, and you don't really have the sinks to do that with this thing if you're firing all 4 of them. It's nice that they cost 0 heat without the rapid fire rule. If the
Yeah,
rapid fire rule were available, I would probably not use it with this mech for fear of overheating if you roll too good on the rapid fire table.
machine guns, flamers. This sounds like one of those mechs that they call, oh, it's an urban fighter, but actually it's just a infantry monster.
Exactly. And vehicle critter too. You've
Oh,
got vehicles do not like getting hit by this thing, especially because you've got an 8x jump, which means more than likely you can either land right on it and kick it where they can't retaliate, or land right behind it. And if they don't have a turret, where they can't retaliate.
what's it, the left and right side arc? If you get in there, you start getting free crit chances.
Yes, that is correct. On the vehicle hit chart, left and right arcs, I think it's either an 8 or a 9 or something like that. If you roll that location, you get a free crit chance just for rolling that location.
That
Not
might
to
be,
mention motive hits, which is the other big thing.
yeah, I might be more tempted with an SRM Inferno or something, but those flamers, they're going to do through armor crits too, right?
Oh, yeah, they definitely can. If they're doing damage mode, I'm pretty sure. Uh, One thing to note, you do need to watch your heat. Jumping for 8 takes up almost half of your total heat sink allotment. So if there's any opportunity for you to run without, endangering yourself, take it. So that way you can unload with all of your weapons, not worry about overheating too much.
I think I took this in one event. It's been a couple months back, but I took it in person because I really wanted a dragonfly because I had just painted one, but I didn't have the battle value for it, and the C just happened to fit. So this is a good objective runner.
Definitely. And at 3.4, it comes in at 1774 battle value. Not at 3.4, it's significantly cheaper, actually. It's like just over 1100 battle value, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a good mech.
Definitely. And next up, uh, and this will be last and definitely not least, at least in terms of tonnage and potential here, we have the Ryukin slash Stormcrow TC Tukkayid configuration, which was very on brand, I thought. Uh, it's a 55 tonner, comes in at 6'9". It's 182 at 185 armor, 22 total heat sinks with an XL engine. So if you do lose a torso, you actually care about it. It's got a Gauss rifle and 4 ER mediums, and it's almost heat neutral. So you can, and a targeting computer, which is the best part. So I kept this one at 4.4 because that target computer is essentially dropping it down to a 3.4. And you get to save a little bit of battle value, but it's still the second most expensive mech on this list, coming in at 2,600. And you do have enough Gauss rifle ammo to fire every round without worrying about it, at least in an MRC match.
I'm glad you took this one because I don't normally like the Stormcrow. I think it's overpriced for what you get. It's just not my style, but the Gauss rifle there, isn't it also tied to a targeting computer?
Yep. The Gauss rifle, the 4 ER mediums, they're all fair game for that T comp.
Where if I was taking a Stormcrow, and the few times I have, I've always enjoyed playing the TC. So I'm happy to see it make another appearance, even though I've also heard it, you know, maligned and pooed on by the greater community saying it's overpriced. But that TC and Gauss rifle is just chef's kiss.
I mean, it runs at 6.9. That's not cheap. You're paying for being able to generate a TMM, so you need to be able to utilize it. It's definitely a finesse tool, not like the stooping hawk we just looked at, where you just jump it for 5 every turn and unload with as many weapons as you can. You can't really do that with a 6.9 55 tonner.
No, but on more open maps like the Catalyst ones and the pre-made ones, I bet it would do well.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a solid configuration for this Stormcrow. And that sums up my list. What have you got for us, Pirate, for your list?
So I took a slightly different approach than normal.
Really, I think that is normal for you, actually, Pirate.
What do you mean? I've actually not run like any of these units. Hang on. Well, I don't really have a standard because I like playing every mech. I just want every mech, but I can't hold every mech.
Oh no, that was my point. Not playing standard is your normal.
Fair. So on this, I intentionally took mechs that I felt were not used very often because they're looked down upon. And when we get into the review of how the list performed, I definitely have opinions. But we'll start out with my big boy here. We've got 10,000 BV, right?
Yep,
So it said that we could take 3 large pulse lasers. So I took a Gladiator A with 3 large pulse lasers in the right arm at 3-4 and 4,100 of my 10,000 BV.
that's almost half your list in one mech. But that is all of your large pulse laser allotment as well. That's a lot of eggs in one basket.
Correct. And my thinking was this will be funny.
We'll find out if it was. Do you want to give us any spoilers?
We'll hold on to that. But
Fair,
you know,
fair enough.
it's also one of those mechs that has both mask and jump jets. You're paying for both, but you can only use one or the other enhanced movement mode. And it's one critical weakness that I didn't realize until midway through my first game. It's got 37 center torso armor. That's really nice. It's got 32 on the arms and 40 on the legs and 20 on the side torsos. Wait, what?
Whoa, hold on now. That doesn't sound right. What's going on there?
I thought I got hit a bunch and I didn't realize it, but no, it just straight up has 20 side torso armor starting. So I guess they were more concerned about salvaging the weapons in those arms. But yeah, it's got 20 side torso armor.
Maybe they're expecting you to have some elementals or coronas or something attached and be some ablative armor for them there. We'll give them some more torso survivability.
Oh, I straight up took elementals as a blade of armor what after I realized that. But it's also got machine guns, which definitely don't have ammo that can explode on you. 4 mediums in the right arm, and that's it. It's wait, there's an LRM-10 in there somewhere, but I'm not seeing it on the list.
No, there is not. Not according to Megamech.
What the hell? Oh no, that's the another mech that had it. But yeah, so large pulse lasers, medium lasers. Oh, it was the machine guns. That's what I'm thinking of. But yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
it's basically a pulse boat. It can fire most of it in weapon cycle relatively easily. Jumping is fine. It can jump 4. The mask can boost it up to 8. So it's still it was fun to play up until someone realizes that on a 6 or an 8, you could pretty much start punching holes and ripping arms off.
Yeah, that's really strange for a frontline assault mech. For the torso armor to be that low, I wonder what the design decision was there. That doesn't sound right at all.
I don't know, but That was my not my commander, amazingly. So I elected, knowing that the Gladiator was too many eggs in one basket, to take a Gargoyle Prime, because I've seen Sam use it before, and it is just a nice, tanky, cheap brick that can go kick and crit seek. So my thinking was large pulls to open holes, followed up with the Gargoyle with LBXs and SRMs, and I can start doing a lot of craziness with leg attacks.
Yeah, I can get behind the Gargoyle Prime as well. It is by far, I'm pretty sure, the cheapest clan assault mech out there. At least clan assault omni mech, and it's fast for an 80 tonner at 5.8.
Yeah, at first I didn't want to take it just because I have used it before, even though maybe like two or three times. But at the end of the day, I needed some chunk in this list that wasn't just the one star of the show. So this made sense to include for a sheer, I need something that can take hits momentum.
Yeah, I think this is actually in my Falcon Heat list, so it's definitely a solid mech. One to keep in mind when you're building a clan list, because a lot of clans have access to it.
And also, the gargoyle arm flips. So that's a nice little trick to keep on somebody who's not expecting it.
Really? Oh, no hand and wrist actuators then.
Nope. So all the time, someone would get behind me, and I would just arm flip and unload SRMs into them.
Yeah, all your weapons except for that small laser are in your arms, so you're lethal at every angle.
So then, boarding on the gargoyle, I've got another set of those flamer elementals that we just covered for the same reason. I did have him at 3-4, even though I was asking you the same question, but it's because I just wanted to keep all the numbers the same. Next up, I've got the Great Worm. This is a very sentimental mech because it's one of the few mechs that Clan Mongoose actually lists as having developed. And as a Mongoose player who never gets to play Mongoose, I try to bring mechs when I can. Um, it is a nice, fun mech. Again, these are all fun mechs. They're definitely totally effective fun mechs. But at 3-4, 1757 BV, this was meant to be a replacement for the Dragon. It runs 5.8, and it comes with an LRM 10, two ER smalls, two ER mediums, two UAC 10s. It's
UAC
it's a
10s?
bracket fighter.
Oh no, two UAC 2s.
Oh yeah, two UAC 2s. Sorry, they just kept getting blown off, so I never really noticed. But two UAC 2s, this nice little peppering at range to start to spook people. But as a fast attack flanker, you can't keep it still. So these maps were a little small to use it. Appreciate Lee from Calgary League telling me a little about this mech because I didn't know anyone else knew it existed. But it's a nice little flanking mech.
Those UAC 2s, I'm not too happy about. The two ER mediums are fine. The two ER smalls are fine. And the LRM 10 is okay, I guess. And it's 5.8 on a 45 tonner with not that much armor. You're at 112 total with 20 heat sinks. You can fire pretty much everything, except for some of the ER smalls, or you can drop the UAC 2s once you close to shorter range.
Yeah, it's another mech. I just set it for double tap on the UAC twos. They jammed way more often than they should have, but again, it was enjoyable to run. Questionable effectiveness. The armor is really weak, and for the most part, people just saw it as like a I don't know. I guess the same way I look at people who run like wasps. You know, there's a target. Just go kill it. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, except this is a 1700 battle value wasp.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is I kind of feel the same way about this thing as I do my peregrine. It was kind of like I know it's not great, but we're gonna try it.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking because the only thing I like less than an LRM 5 is an AC 2. So a UAC 2 just kind of doubles down on what I think is one of the worst weapons.
Yeah, and you've got two of them. So,
My main guns. My main guns is literally something that'll tickle you. Yep.
a long range machine gun that can jam.
Yes. So after that, I've got the Jenner 2C. I love the Jenner. The aesthetic is just great, but I've always been hyper disappointed by the Jenner 2C, so I thought I'd try it again. Um, 3.4 comes in at 1382 battle value. It's got a 9, I think it's like 915. Uh,
It's 914 with a 7 jump.
Correct. I almost took a Viper, but I wanted to really challenge myself. So I was like, I'm not going to take a jump 8. I'm going to take a jump 7 to make it more interesting. So I took this one, and in testing, this thing was an absolute beast. Um, Before we get to the tournament, you wouldn't think that. Its armament is 2 SRM 6s and a Streak 4, which I thought was an interesting choice, but the armor on it is only 13 in the CT and 6 on the side torsos. So, yeah, and 3 on the arms. It is not going to survive.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It's 67 out of 119 possible armor. It's literally half armor. It's yeah, that is definitely questionable coverage there.
Yeah, just don't get hit. It's real easy.
Yeah, just jump for 7 every turn. What's your problem? Just don't get hit.
The problem is, I didn't run into any Direwolf A's, but anything like that with pulse lasers would have been a problem. And yeah, this was definitely a not a joke mech to add to the list, but man, I just really wanted to try it out. And like I said, in testing, I loaded it with Infernos along with regular SRMs. It could overheat and shut down people left, right, and center. So I enjoyed it. For if no other reason, I enjoyed it just to turn off mechs, and I even threw its original pilot name on the Discord for a while as my name because I was so proud of it.
Oh, dang, nice. And it's got 2 tons of SRM6, so you can bring Infernos and standard and change it up.
And I'll tell you what, I never ran out of ammo.
Oh, I wonder why. Well, actually, yeah, it doesn't matter. You've got 15 shots for in each ton, so it's almost impossible to run out of ammo.
Yep. And then rounding it out, I took the Armored Personnel Carrier Hover SRM. That was partly an initiative sync. That was partly, I just like the APC Hover because it's fast, it's speedy, it can zip behind people, and it's like a little ant that just scares them. So there's not much to it. It basically has no armor. It's got, what's it, a SRM2 on it, like I said. Yeah, it's got
Yeah,
pretty much.
it's got 24 armor total. It's got 6 armor in every location. If you get hit with a clan ER medium, you're dead. Or a clan medium pulse, you're dead.
Yep. So I think it's 10, 15 movement speed, but it's just a nice toy. So,
Yeah, it seems like it could be real annoying, and anything shooting at it is not shooting at your other max.
but yeah, that's my list. I went Steel Vipers for this event. It probably could have done several different units as well, but repping Steel Vipers and supporting Clan Wolf on it.
Oh, nice. Okay, right on. Oh, no wonder you went with the red color scheme. That makes sense. Alrighty, well, that was our review of our actual list that we use, and we'll go ahead and start going round by round. I actually have some footage of my rounds, so I'll pull that up, and I'll go ahead and go first since I've got footage. So I played Whitworth round 1. Actually, before we get into the round, we should probably talk about the objective. Now that I think about it.
For soft landing,
Yep, round 1 was soft landing, and it's on these. All of these maps and missions were specific maps for the mission itself. This one was on the Racis River Delta, found in the Battle of Tukkayid map pack. And if I remember correctly, here we go. Yeah, so the defender, which was the inner sphere player, could deploy first, and they could deploy anywhere on the map. And the clan, and this was the objective is cut off the head, and the clan player had to deploy 6 hexes from a board edge and also 6 hexes away from every other friendly unit. So you had to scatter your forces on landing and be away from each other. And well, the inner sphere player could group together, but you did have knowledge of where that inner sphere player was putting every single one of their units before you placed your first one.
That was definitely with Mega Mech where you can't do backsies, even though it's very clearly spelt out. I definitely did mess that up like 3 times out of the 6 units I took.
Yeah, I definitely made oopses, I think, once or twice in deployment where I was like, oh crap, that's not quite within the 6 hexes away, or oh crap, I'm, one too close to another unit.
I did enjoy it though because that was a very unique twist on the deployment. So it's not just, all right, let's go line up like Red Rover on 2 sides of the board and charge each other.
Yeah, I did like it. It was different, but it was also easy to mess up. So the objectives, you got one objective point for defeating 75% of the enemy force, and you got another objective point for defeating the enemy commander. And it's win, loss, or tie, depending on how the match went. So I'll go ahead and pull back up my round one footage against Whitworth, and we'll skip through this pretty quickly. As you can see, we're messing around. I changed the color of my stooping hawk to make it easier to see. So won't go too much into his list. Actually, now that I think about it, let me go back and I'll talk a little bit about what he brought just briefly. He's had an awesome 8Q. Everybody knows the awesome's awesome. He had a Thunderhawk TDK 7X. It's basically a Goss sniper. He had a Phoenix Hawk PXH-3M, an annoying jumpy harasser. He had an Oss Scout OTT-7J, which was his commander. It's one of the only jump 7 or 8 mechs that you can get as an inner sphere player. And he was definitely being jumpy and annoying with it, which we'll get into briefly here. And I think that may have been his whole list, if I'm not mistaken. He did have some princess backup. He had a Shalone. Oh, a Celerity. That was the last unit I was forgetting. So he had some Princess Mechanized Track Platoon. He had a Princess Shylone, which did almost absolutely nothing the entire match, which we'll get into here. So he placed scattered a little in the middle, the Phoenix Hawk off to the left. He had a Black Knight too. The 6B, which is the Royal variant, which has, I think, double heat sinks and a bunch of other sweet tech. So it's basically Clan Invasion version Black Knight with all the lost tech in it. So he had a really solid list, a lot of beef between that Thunderhawk, the Black Knight, and the Awesome. Any thoughts on the opponent's list there? Now that I've completely butchered it.
The Awesome is always just a solid, reliable tank, and it's one of my favorite unofficial clan busters just because it can take the hits and it can deal the damage and it can survive long enough to win the attrition game. Because to beat clanners, generally you don't have to necessarily, table them. You just have to outlast them, and eventually you're going to overwhelm them.
Yeah. So I tried to position my units fairly. I mean, I had to scatter them. I put the Stooping Hawk right in the back of the Black Knight, which, thinking about it, that's probably not the best spot considering it's my commander. And I realized that quickly, like, oh crap, I probably shouldn't leave him right in the middle of the Viper's Den. I put some elementals directly under his awesome because there's nothing that says you can't. And I put these elementals up in the corner on accident. I actually meant to put them down further, exactly 6 hexes away from the Peregrine, but they were out of range. And I kind of flubbed my deployment. These elementals should have dropped right on another one of these big heavy mechs and just been poking them from the start of the match. It was definitely a deployment blunder on my end for sure. The Ryukin TC deployed here and stayed here for its entire lifespan, which wasn't all that long. We'll get into that shortly. The Dragonfly deployed down here to try and wrangle his Ost Scout, which I can't see right now. I'm not sure where exactly it is currently. And the Peregrine was down here as well to start wrangling in that Ost Scout. My plan was to get the Dragonfly within 1 to 2 hexes of the Ost Scout and just hopefully win initiative enough times or delay the Dragonfly's movement to the end and try and force the Oscout to move before I have to move the Dragonfly and keep the Dragonfly on it the entire time. Just getting as many shots off on it as I possibly can. So I went for trying to kill the commander instead of going for 75% because he's got a lot more metal than I do. So I figured that would be the easier way to go about this. So he charges round one of combat. He charges a celerity into the rear of my Ryukin, uh, and he basically puts himself almost in forced withdrawal. I think he loses 1 or 2 legs, so his celerity is down for the count. It's not doing anything. He got 1 charge with it, and that's the end of the game for it. I think I pick it off next round. The Ryukin takes pot shots, nothing really to write home about. I try to burrow into the awesome, which isn't the best idea, but considering he's got 2 laser boats that are zombies, and the Thunderhawk, which is a Gauss rifle sniper, which is also not really that likely to blow up outside of hitting that Gauss rifle in the arms. I figured just burrowing into the awesome, which was kind of stranded up here on a hill, when it was the easier shot, would be the way to go. And it just took way too long for me to kill this awesome. I try to chase the the Oscout as best as I can. I got some shots on it with the Peregrine. I got some shots on it with the Stooping Hawk. The Peregrine's just jumping around being annoying. I DFA the awesome off of his little perch, I'm pretty sure here. Uh, and I get the elementals finally into close range, and he just unloads on the elementals to try and wipe them off the board. Uh, and there's not really too much exciting stuff going on. No real good crits. As you can see, we're well into the match, and I've gotten rid of his awesome, but I've lost my Peregrine. I've lost a squad of elementals. Another squad's pretty banged up. Oh no, I have both squads of elementals, but I did lose the Peregrine, and his Phoenix Hawk is poking at my Stooping Hawk. His Oscout's taking some hits, but nothing significant. It's still jumping around for 8 as his commander. And the Phoenix Hawk's harassing. I'm kind of stuck here with the Stooping Hawk. I can't really leave. I don't want to expose him to the Black Knight and or the Thunderhawk. So I'm keeping him behind this level 2 hill, just playing peekaboo with the Phoenix Hawk and the Oscout, trying to get any pot shots I can off. And eventually, I think I get the Phoenix Hawk into forced withdrawal. Yep, there it is. So he's forced to move off the map. The Oscout is also in forced withdrawal and forced to move off the map. And I, of course, chase it with the Dragonfly, and he just unloads everything in the Dragonfly and eventually takes it down. And as well as the Elementals, I'm throwing all of my firepower and all my weight into getting rid of this Oscout instead of burrowing on basically a fresh Black Knight and a poked at Thunderhawk. You can see it's taken a little bit of damage, but that thing's still got a lot of armor on it. What happens next is how the game basically ends. He picks off the rest of my Dragonfly. His Oscout is in force withdrawal. So he does get 75% battle value destroyed. And at this point, I'm thinking it's a tie game. I've got his Oscout in force withdrawal, and it just left the map. So I should get a point for that, which was my logic. And we spend the rest of the game just kind of positioning with the Stooping Hawk, not really trying to let him get free shots on me with that Thunderhawk, poking at the Black Knight a little bit. And we end the game basically playing Ring Around the Rosie, not really shooting at each other very much. So I found out after the match that I was actually wrong, and the Stooping Hawk, or I'm sorry, the Oscout did not count for points because it was not destroyed. Fleeing the map denied me the objective, which definitely sucks. If I would have known it worked that way, I would have definitely chased it down or attempted to chase it down with the Stooping Hawk if possible, because it was very crippled by the time it made it off the map. I think it only had like 4 jump jets, and like half of a torso left or something. So this ended up being a 1-0 loss for me based on the objective. And he had also got me on battle value too. So I definitely flubbed my deployment for sure. I should not have deployed where I did. The elementals should have gone right onto the awesome, and the other one should have gone right onto that Thunderhawk and just been a nuisance from turn one. Uh, and yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it, but it definitely could have played it better. Looking back at my on hindsight.
Well, also the objectives were somewhat different than what we're used to, where it's a BV percentage kill or a unit percentage kill, and with the not symmetrical objectives, the asymmetrical objectives, it is sometimes hard to keep track of which way it's going, and then the scoring at the end. Sometimes it's a binary win, sometimes it's points earned. I will say my game two, I butchered how to count those objectives, so definitely some sympathy coming out for mission one and not fully being aware of the in game. But it does sound like outside of a couple learning things with the deployment, that at least you had a good thrashing both ways. And that awesome is no joke. I mean, anybody that can kill an awesome in 15 turns, that's a lot of hurt you're putting on it.
Yeah, I think I had that thing down by like I want to say turn 5 or 6 because I just burrowed into it with all my bigger mechs. The only time I didn't shoot at the awesome is when I had shots on the Oscout. Also, what definitely hurt was losing the Ryukin to a Gauss rifle through the head on turn 3.
That sounds like one of those. You have a Gauss rifle, I have a Gauss rifle moments.
No, he had two. I only had one.
Oof.
Yeah, and he got the headshot with the Gauss, which did not feel good.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, headshots being detrimental is going to be a recurring theme when it comes to some of my matches, as we'll see further along here. So
Now,
let's
and that's
go
one
ahead.
of the taxes of taking a head capper is there's a certain barrier. 10 damage isn't that much more than, or isn't that much less than 12, but there's a world of difference between something that does 12 damage and 10 damage.
Oh yeah, being able to one shot a mech's head is a huge, huge advantage. 10 damage gives you the crit chance for going internal. 12 makes it moot point. They're just automatically dead. So that was my round one. How did your round one go, Pirate?
Not much better. So I'm still too used to inner sphere tactics. So when we deployed, I did the whole aha, I can get behind you. But I forgot that my opponent was deploying on hills, which limited my movement. I have clan mechs, which need movement. And also, if I lose the initiative, um, that means I can't get behind the enemy that I just deployed on top of. Instead, they're behind me. So I played Dragon Noob, flubbed up the deployment where, I was like 3 to 5 hexes away on two of my units. Sorry about that. He brought a Highlander 732. I think that's the vanilla Highlander. Um, a Black Knight 7, an Archer 5 CS. Don't have the footage for it, but this was a good, chunky, clan busty list. A flatbed LRM truck. I brought a hover APC, so I'm not going to complain about that. An engineering vehicle flamer, which I was just impressed with, and a Rotunda scout vehicle, which I think that had a large laser on it, but it was definitely something that um, I thought I could ignore, but it was pretty consistent on damage, even though it was only 400 BV.
Yeah, that sounds like a ragtag list of units there.
Well, given I had a ragtag list of clan units, I'm okay with that.
I guess yeah, that's fair game. Fair enough.
So I don't have the full play-by-play here, but essentially what happened was we deployed. I tried to take out some of his vehicles just to numerically reduce those units and keep my units, which I deployed on top of his heaviest units, alive as long as possible. That Highlander, by the way, was a 2-2 Highlander.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
yeah, it was his commander, and he DFA'd my commander 3 times.
How the hell?
Oh, yeah, well, when there's limited movement and you got a 2, and DFAs work by piloting differential, so even though a 3-4, he basically had a +2 every time, or a -2 every time he DFA'd. So I would try, but I can't blow it out of the sky. He's surviving piloting rolls. Just, it was a tough time.
That's surprising he was able to get within two. Well, then again, you did deploy right on top of him, so never mind.
I deployed right on top of him, thinking, oh, I'll just, get some head kicks or get some SRM shots in the rear. Probably should have deployed just in the dead center of the map and moved my way away from his mechs.
Yeah, remember, you're a clanner. You got to use your range if you have it.
Yeah, this is just my brain is hardwired that the optimal range to fight at is 1 hex. So
Yeah, that'll do it. It seems like it was one of those call an ambulance, but not for me moments, you know?
oh, for sure. So I ended up with the elementals are still surviving. Took out his Highlander and his Black Knight and the engineering vehicle, crippled the scout rotunda, but the flatbed it was basically hiding behind the archer, and I couldn't finish it off in time with the elementals. I got it down pretty good, um, with some open holes, but it wasn't crippled yet. So that was a loss for Steel Vipers.
Gotcha. So we both lost our first round. Not a good look for the clans. If I'm not mistaken, the clans overall lost the first round.
And I think
Uh,
this is going to be something you'll hear us say quite a bit.
I mean, it is Tukkayid.
Yep.
We all know who won Tukkayid, and if you don't, guess what? It was not the clans. Uh, so how do you feel? Anything you could have done differently other than positioning on deployment, which I think is where we both kind of uh, you know blew the match, really.
Yeah, positioning on deployment. Um, I could have played the map better. Not even just on deployment, but I spent too much time trying to get up and off of hills. And I've got jump jets on the Gladiator, which I used, but the Gargoyle did not. Neither did the Great Worm. So it was definitely that map has a lot of movement breaking hexes. Probably could have played the map better.
Gotcha.
I think if I remember right, there's like rivers and swamps and hills and forests and roughs and yeah, definitely could have played the map better.
Yeah, there's a lot of varied terrain in that map. It's not all of it is good. A lot of it sucks. The level 1 and level 2 water axes.
And the Tukkayid maps in general, for anybody that hasn't seen them, if you're used to the Game of Armored Combat box or the Clan Invasion box, even they do have some good maps in there. They're fun to play on, but the Tukkayid maps kind of dial that to 14 with the amount of texture that's on the map. There's not like just a hill with some open space between it or some little crevasses that people can run through. There's a lot of stuff going on in those maps.
Yeah, definitely terrain intensive maps for sure. All right, so I'll go ahead and get into my round two. I played Inypt or INYPT. I'm assuming it's pronounced Inypt. I didn't actually ask him. Uh, but he's around. He's one of our, I want to say, veteran players. And this one is Breakthrough. If I'm not mistaken, this is the Ghost Bear mission where I need to get from the west end of the map off the east end of the map. So I've got two mechs that can jump, and I've got the Ryukin that can't jump. And I made another deployment mistake here, not thinking I accidentally deployed my elementals on my Ryukin instead of on the Stooping Hawk. So my plan was to jump the Stooping Hawk on the south side and jump the Dragonfly on the north side and make them choose which one they're gonna engage because they can't stop them both, and get off with with the mech and the elementals on each, and that would be all four of the units I needed to win the objective. And it would also deny the battle value destroyed if I got off with that many units. And the Peregrine was going to try and jump off too. I just charged it straight up the map, jumping 6 hexes each round. And the Ryukin, I was planning on leaving it for the wolves until I realized I messed up my deployment and left my elementals on it on accident, which is not good because it's the only mech that can't jump on the list. And there's only two ways I could have gone, through the middle right here or up in the north where this open little section is, that wouldn't have taken forever to traverse the map because of all the woods here. As you can see, Inyept chose to cut off my Ryukin, which decided to go to the north. And his little heavy strike fighter didn't really do too much. His little urban combat vehicle that Princess had didn't really do too much. But his cavalry attack helicopter, which I'm pretty sure was Princess controlled, bonked my poor little Peregrine in the head and gave him, I think he blacked out for like a turn or two, right here on like turn 2. So this is in right after movement on turn 1 or 2. I think this is turn 3 by the time I started recording. So we're a little bit into the game. He's got two Brutus assault tanks, a standard and a PPC variant. He's got a Bulldog medium tank. He's got a Behemoth heavy tank. He's got a Von Luckner heavy tank and a Hunchback 4SP. If you don't know any of those vehicles, that's a lot of metal, especially on that Behemoth and that Von Luckner. And in order to try and recoup some points, I decided I would, on my way off the map, see if I could destroy anything to, make up for losing the round 1 so badly. Because I lost 1-0, and I was hoping to at least get a 2-0 or maybe 2-1 win here. So before we get too far into the match, let me actually pull up the objective to see exactly how it was scored, because not reading these properly is probably what cost me a couple of these maps. So the objective, 1, the attacker clan player must exit half their force unit count off the defender's edge. So that's worth 1 point. And then 2, both sides destroy half of the battle value of the enemy's force. So 50% battle value destroyed would get 2 points. And then the defender got 1 point if half their force was alive at the end of the game. So I could run off the map with as many units as possible and call it good, and we get a tie 1-1 if I don't destroy half of his unit count. So I decided to go in and try to destroy more of his unit count as possible, and we'll see how well that went for me. Also, 3, destroy all enemy units in the field before half the attacker's force has exited the defender's edge. So if I can destroy him to go for all 3 points, which I don't think is likely because of how much armor he's got on these vehicles, I could go for 3, and I did not choose to do that. I choose to poke him on the way out. But that Peregrine getting that headshot and blacking out turn 3 threw a monkey wrench in my plans. So the cavalry attack helicopter definitely paid for that with its life. I guess the cavalry didn't make him black out, but he did black out very shortly afterwards. Something else bonked him in the head, and he was down for like a turn or 3. And if your mech is crippled, it's as far as I was counting, it was not fair game for the objective, if I'm not mistaken. It would not count as a unit off the board if it was crippled, because crippled units don't count for objectives. At least that's the way I was playing it. If I was wrong, which I may be, because I'm, reading comprehension is something we don't do here. But that's the way I was playing it. So as you can see, the Viper's all the way over at the edge. The Ryukin's running up the middle into this hornet's nest. I mean, the only thing I could have done was pull it back and just completely give up on trying to get it off the map and make him come to me and try to outmaneuver him, which would have taken a lot of time. and I also don't think it was that feasible because he does have his own mech, and the behemoth is just going to sit here. It doesn't really need to go anywhere. So I get the dragonfly to the edge. I don't escape with it right away. I drop off the elementals because I think you have to be dismounted for them to count as a unit escaping. I could be wrong there. I could have left him on the dragonfly, but I'm erring on the side of caution here because I want to make sure I get the points this time for the objective. And uh, there it is. There's the headshot on the Peregrine. He's out. The Stooping Hawk is getting closer to the board edge. The Dragonfly is getting closer to the board edge. I ditched the elementals off the Ryukin the last turn, and I just start lighting up some of these tanks. I get one of his Brutuses in force withdrawal. I think I may blow up another one with an ammo explosion later on, but I just don't have the firepower to deal with these vehicles, and they're chewing me up because they're like 2 3s or something. I know the Behemoth was like a 2 3 or something ridiculous like that. These are all very cheap vehicles, and we have 10,000 battle value. They were very very low gunnery, so he was nailing me fairly often. So as you can see, the Peregrine is finally awake, but it's in force withdrawal, so it can't really do much with it. I go to get off the map. I get off with one of the elementals. I get off with the Dragonfly. I get off with the Stooping Hawk. So I get off with my 50%, and the Stooping Hawk goes into force withdrawal right before he gets off. So I lose the objective there. So at least I assumed I lost the objective. I may have gotten it. But either way, it's either going to be a 2 point loss or a 1 point loss, depending on whether or not being in force withdrawal counts. Because he did get 50% of my battle value by taking out that Ryukin, and I think he got one of my battle armor squads and the Peregrine, if I'm not mistaken. So that sums up the match for me. Another deployment flub on my end. Putting the elementals on the wrong mech was a huge detriment. The elementals should have traveled all the way to the edge of the board on that Stooping Hawk without a care in the world, and that one mistake I think cost me the match, at least the objective point.
Brutal.
Yeah, just a comedy of errors here in the Jesty Ghost Bear Toman. So, how did your round two match go, Pirate?
Uh, Not much better. In fact, probably worse. So I played Jason Red first time I got to play him. That was enjoyable. But my mechs decided that they were just so demoralized, they didn't want to roll their piloting skills all game.
Oof.
So I started out on the same map going up north to try to get elevation and like snipe down with range to the inner sphere mechs. But if I remember right, I think uh, my score sheet's all messed up here. I think Jason had a C3 list, and I was struggling to get good shots all game on it. Eventually, I was able to get to the midfield and rain down fire with that Great Worm and Gladiator and Gargoyle. And my intent was to get the Jenner and Gargoyle with elementals off the field with the APC as a backup, just kind of zipping down the southern line, saying don't shoot. But they had other plans. The APC, when it was getting towards scoring position, did a slip and fell into a very exposed area. I think it even hit and like crashed. So it got nuked off the board very quickly.
Brutal.
The Oh, absolutely. The Gladiator decided to take all of its hit in a side torso, and I think the machine gun ammo cooked off, blacking it out.
Oh no.
Yeah, then the Gargoyle was in some trees, and it was doing well until it got hit with 20 damage and was like rolling snake eyes or threes on the piloting skill and fell, and then would get up and it'd fall again. I'm pretty sure he fell 3 times in that match to PSRs, and he didn't even have any like gyro crits or anything. He just sucked. So eventually, I was able to get half of the enemy destroyed, but he was able to table me. And at the end of it, I think it was 2 points for the BV destroyed for the clanners, but the Intersphere won 6 points, where they prevented the clanners from leaving, destroyed 50%. And also, I didn't realize this, but you also get um, 3 more points for destroying before half leaves. So it's not a either or situation. It's 6-2 on the clanners there.
Oh
It
wow! So
it
he
was
tabled
tough. Oh
like
yeah, no, straight up tabled me. Yeah, they just
oh
couldn't do
wow.
anything with it. And eventually, once I realized I wasn't going to win, I just had the Jenner again. That Jenner had served me really well every single game. Eventually, I just had him zipping around, taking shots to whittle him down to 50% to at least get something on the scoreboard. But yeah, it was not a good look, and I was already going. I'm not running a gladiator again.
Oh no, it says they instead will earn 3 points. So they got 3 points. So it was a 3-1 or whatever. It was still a loss, but it wasn't as bad. It wasn't a 6 point. They don't get to stack them like that.
Oh, well, then I read it wrong as well then. So, either way, Devian, I'm sure you took care of the scoring for me.
Yeah, but also another brutal round two match for the Clanners. If I'm not mistaken, we lost this round overall as well.
We
Uh,
did. Yep.
not looking good for the clan side. Just saying.
No, and as we get into mission 3, crossing the streams on the Fresno River.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. I'll go ahead and pull up my game three. Honestly, I think I performed the best in this round. And I played against who was it? Was it Dragon Noob? All right, so getting into round three, I put the Ryukin on the only place it can go. This is the easy map. He chose the easy map, which I don't think is the easier map for clans. Honestly, I think the hard map is the better map for the clan player, especially if you've got something that can get across the river by jumping like I do. So
Eh,
this is the harder map for the clans, which is known as the easy map.
I will tell you right now when we get to my game, that's all a brutal lie. But anyway,
well, the objective is different depending on which map you had. Let me go ahead and pull it up before I forget again. So, and this here we go again with reading comprehension. Objective A, hard map. Intersphere wins the objective as long as no enemy player controlled ground units, not BSPs, are on the north part of the map across the river when the game ends. So you just have to have one unit alive at the end of turn 15 and you win as the clan player. For the easy map, you have to have more than half of your total unit number alive. Not equal, not exactly half, more than half. So I went into this thinking I needed half, which means 3 units. In reality, I needed 4 units, and I lost this match well before I thought I would have. Uh, or I actually, toward the end of the match, we'll get into it, but keep that in mind. I need 4 units alive and to win the objective, and I do not have that by the end of the match. As a spoiler alert, so getting across the map is kind of a pain. He's got really low skilled mechs. Oh, there's a 2-2 Highlander. Hey, what do you know? There's his flatbed truck. He's got that Black Knight. I'm assuming. I'm pretty sure it's the Black Knight that's over there. And double blind is on, so I can't see all of his units. There's the engineering vehicle. I forgot about that thing. I killed it turn one. It was Dragon Noob again. My bad. So there's the Black Knight. There's the Archer that he had, and there's the Highlander. So I'm really just trying to stay alive and pick easy shots to try and whittle down his numbers as best I can. I think I take out this engineering vehicle right away. I start poking away at this archer because it's the easiest target. The Highlander is dangerous, but I can stay away from it with my mechs. They all jump, and the Ryukin outruns it by a good bit. So I jump the Viper across on the toward the west end of the map, hiding behind the cliff for a turn, which I could have probably left him there the whole match, and which would have been a detriment. But he would have been safe until turn 15. If I were on the easy map, that's not an option because that sandbar isn't there. I'm just trying to focus the archer down as best I can, or the Highlander, or whatever target he shows that's got the lowest target number, because I'm not really concerned about destroying him. I'm just concerned about degrading his ability to destroy me and going for hopefully lucky crits. So the Ryukin, I'm pretty sure the Gauss rifle goes. It's either the Gauss rifle or no. I lose my ER mediums very early. He ticks off my arm that's got all the ER mediums, and I'm literally just a Gauss rifle with legs at this point on this Ryukin. So I decide to sit it on top of the Zukov tank for the entire match if possible. I did win initiative quite a bit this round, which is not normal for me. I'm used to losing initiative almost every round except the first or second. And I just go all in on this archer and start poking away at the Highlander and the Black Knight as I get targets of opportunity. I do get the archer down. I think he's gyroed out right now because he's not unconscious and he's not in force withdrawal somehow. But he is prone and immobile. Two gyro hits, I think, should put him in force withdrawal, but apparently it's not. And
Uh,
then,
Two gyros should be force withdrawal. Yeah.
oh, you know what? He's immobile, so maybe he's unconscious, which should put him in the little black dot too. I'm not sure what happened to the archer there and why the black dot's not there, but he's definitely in force withdrawal now, and he definitely woke up. So I'm poking at the archer, jumping every turn with all my jumping mechs to make them as hard as possible to hit, throwing my battle armor at his assault mech, which is a 2-2, by the way, which is very, very disgusting, which means he's going to be kicking me and picking off one of those elementals every turn with a field goal if I go into his same hex. So I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible and keep my TMM up as much as possible and just be annoying with these jumping mechs and whittle him down as much as I can. So taking pot shots with the Ryukin, kicking that Zukov every turn with the Ryukin that can't shoot back at him, or that he can't shoot back at. He's trying to get away from the Ryukin, but there's no way. I'm 6'9", he's like 3'5". It's not happening. And he's got really no reason to shoot at the Ryukin. It is a Gauss rifle, but that's all it is. It's just the Gauss rifle. Whereas the Stooping Hawk and the Dragonfly, which failed a PSR over here, and the Peregrine are all still very much alive and very operational. So I do jump the elementals to try and force the Highlander out of his little forest here, trying to get some decent positioning. I'm jumping back and forth with the Dragonfly and the Peregrine to this particular hex that gives me a little bit of cover, trying to get rid of this archer once and for all. I think I take it out right now. Yep. There goes the archer. There goes the flatbed truck that he had. I got rid of the engineering vehicle a lot earlier, and that stupid little scout vehicle is immobile. So that thing is only going to get shots if I let it, which I technically did right here, but it was a sacrifice I needed to make to get rid of that archer. And I'm just bullying the Zukov with the Ryukin and the Stooping Hawk, taking as many shots on the Highlander as I can with the Elementals and the Peregrine. As you can see, the armor bars on the Ryukin start to drop pretty low. The Dragonfly's lost an arm, and I think a torso at this point. Oh no, it's not a torso. He'd been forced withdrawal, but he definitely lost an arm and some weapons. I think I don't have my flamers. Oh no, I don't have my ER mediums. There you go. You can see it right there. So I've got to get real close in order to get shots off anymore. His Highlander just being a disgusting 2-2 assault mech that I can't close with because he's just going to DFA me or kick me with his 2 skill. And I decide to focus down the Zukov, get rid of it with the Dragonfly because it's got short range only at this point. The Stooping Hawk's just jumping every turn, keeping his TMM up, trying to get as much forest in between me and him Because remember, I don't need to kill him. I just need him to not kill me. And at this point, I'm down to 5 units. It doesn't have to be forced withdrawal. That doesn't matter for the clans this time around. They just need to exist, if I'm not mistaken. And uh, we'll just fast forward this a little bit more. I eventually take out that Zukov. I think it's, yeah, there it goes. So the Zukov is done. It was immobile. I jump away with the Viper because it can't do anything, and I lost initiative. It can't do anything unless I'm within 3 hexes, and that's a very dangerous place to be against that Highlander and the Black Knight that's got pulse lasers, if I'm not mistaken. And he ends up taking out my last squad of elementals. So technically, right here, I lose the match, or at least I lose the objective, which is the whole match right there. 47% battle value too. So I lost half my BV. He's down to 40%, and we'll get into battle value percentages in a little bit because it's actually going to show up in this recording, I'm pretty sure. So if you blinked, you may have missed it, but the game technically ended once, uh, right about here, because I got an ammo explosion on his Highlander, or no, triple through armor crit and destroyed his Highlander, and the game ended because it hit 20% battle value, which we accidentally turned on. So we tried to see if there was a way to reload and turn it off. He was able to get it reloaded, but there was no way to turn it off. So we just picked up from where we left off, and instead of blowing up the Highlander, I take out his gyro, so now he's immobile. He's suffered a whole lot of fire throughout the game, as has the Black Knight. And so it's a little bit of a spoiler alert because it's going to be the end of the match here. The Ryukin survives with no weapons. I lose both my Gauss rifle arm and all the ER medium laser arm. The Stooping Hawk is the only thing I think that's still in fighting condition and not in forced withdrawal by the end of the match the second time around. But I do get a double destruction on his remaining mechs. I get the Black Knight and I get the Highlander on the last round of that actually went to time. It went to turn 15, and I was able to kill both of his remaining mechs. So this was my best performance. Yeah, there it is. Section destroyed. Black Knight destroyed by damage, center torso. Yeah, there it is. So I was able to table him, but I lost the objective, thinking I won the objective, needing 3 units left alive at the end of the match, when in reality I needed 4. And I threw away the battle armor just because I thought I could and still get away with it. When in reality, I should have left a squad of battle armor on my side of the map or something, or left them mounted on a mech, or not thrown them away as aggressively as I did because I needed them alive, and at least one of them, to win the match. So another loss for the Clanners. Although it was a combat win, I still lost the objective, unfortunately.
That's tough going, especially when you think you've won just to go on not on a technicality, because should have known beforehand, but that is always frustrating when it's that close.
Yeah. So again, reading comprehension, because I don't know what the actual Tukkayid package says, because it says I think half the units must survive, and half of my units did. But in the Tukkayid package, they're assuming you're bringing a full star of 5 units, and I got 6. So the wording in our event package was changed to at least half, or more than half, not at least half. So that way you have to be over the 50% mark. And 3 out of 6 is not over 50%. It is equal to, which does not qualify.
That's fair.
Yep, it is what it is, but I'm 0-3 now. But I did actually perform well this time. I just didn't get the objective, and I misunderstood it. So that's 3 for 3 now, rounds where either the objective was unclear or it just wasn't quite worded as well as it could have been, or I mean, it says it right there in plain English, but my MRC lizard brain comprehension thought I only needed 3 mechs for some reason.
Well, at least you went better than my week 3. That was a gigantic cluster.
Oh, how did that go? And which map did you play on? Easy or hard?
So I chose the hard map, thinking that the easy map was a trap and the hard map had the better objective, especially with my jump 7. And I had practiced this one and I was feeling real confident about it.
Well, it was, wasn't it? It was the easy objective because you could just jump across with your Jenner 2C. So
Y-
I have the hard map pulled up here just as an overview. As you can see, there is literally only this road. And that's it, just the bridge to get across.
That bridge was the bane of my existence. And I was lucky enough to play Sacred, which is always fun to play Sacred. But you know when Deviant says, I didn't know mechs could die that way. And when you have 10 through armor crits on a single mech,
Whole 10 of them.
hmm
Let me guess, the gladiator?
hmm
Ooh, all right.
so let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this game. This game that was so bad that my opponent literally said we can do it again because we ended too early, and that was bullshit.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't take him up on it because I was like, you know what, you've got some good shots. I won't reset the clock. But so I deployed my gladiator in the bottom right, and my plan was I'll put the gladiator there, do some long range sniping with those large pulse lasers, and give time for my gargoyle who's mounting elementals to do a Pirates of the Caribbean style walk to the other side of the map. And I'm going to put my Jenner to C prone in the left hand side of the map, and I'm going to get the great worm to hide under the bridge and walk straight up. So
Ooh,
goal was I'm just going to slow walk everything and then wait till turn 13, turn 14, spring them up onto starting positions, and then turn 15 have multiple units that suddenly appear on the other side of the map.
okay. Well, that was the strategy. How did it go?
So turn 1, I take let me just pull up because this is nuts.
Just briefly, there's literally only 2 spots you can cross. If you deploy all the way on the right, you have to have a jump 8 to make it across. If you deploy all the way on the left, there's one little itty bitty 0 level hex in the water right here that you can use as a stepping stone to get across, or you can do a jump 8 and make it all the way across, but only to this one specific hex.
Yep. And that was where the Jenner 2C was going to go. It's going to jump over there, ping on turn 14, and then turn 15 get to the other side. And I was hoping jump 7, will be fine, right?
No, you need a jump 8 for this one.
So turn 1, first shot of the game, Atlas lands a Gauss rifle on the left torso of that gladiator that we talked about was so weak.
Ooh, well, it's got 20 armor. It should have 5 left, right?
Then an LRM-10 hits, and I take left torso damage from the Grand Dragon.
Oof.
Then there's another Grand Dragon. Sorry, that was there's 2 Grand Dragons. Then I have another Grand Dragon. It has an LRM hit the left torso, goes internal, hits the mask. Then I have the Emperor hit, and this is the first of 10 through armor criticals on the right leg. That hits a upper or lower leg actuator while taking another mask hit on the left torso. And we're still not done because the Crockett hasn't fired
This is all turn 1 on the Jenner?
on the Gladiator. Yep.
Oh, the Gladiator. Sorry, the Gladiator?
Yep.
Jesus.
So then and OBX hits. And I mean, he needed like eights and nines, so it wasn't a terrible shot. But then I'm taking a through armor crit again, hits the shoulder and large pulse laser of the left arm. So now my main gun is pretty much useless.
Yeah, there goes your pulse as soon as that shoulder penalty kicks in.
And now that I have a exposed torso, it makes it extremely dangerous for me to jump into the water and try to do some small island hopping to assist moving to the other side of the map if I even wanted to at this point.
Yeah, if you fall, that's it. That torso's gone.
Yep. And turn two, the first thing that happens, Gauss rifle hits the left arm, which has armor, by the way, except he rolls a through armor critical and blows it off.
Jesus.
Yep. And then it just keeps getting worse. Multiple more weapons hit. Here's the punchline. I start getting engine damage, gyro damage, more through armor crits to the legs, and that gladiator falls, does two through armor crits to itself, and it doesn't last beyond the next turn.
That is ridiculously bad luck for a gladiator. Yeah, I'm gonna say stay away from him.
It gets worse. So, the Great Worm, which I deployed under the bridge, thinking, well, I'll just start moving up the bridge line. As it turns out, there's torrents on either side of the bridge, but not under the bridge itself. Guess what hex you can't move into?
Oh no. Which one?
You can't move apparently from underneath the bridge into a torrent. So my Great Worm, which I was going to just start under the bridge and then cut directly straight up to the other side of the map because that made it a straight line to a landing, it couldn't go straight. It could only turn and walk one hex to follow the bridge.
What?
That sounded a bit like a bug. But we were already so far in, and there were good shots on that gladiator. I was like, this Great Worm's just trash anyway. I'm not too worried about it. So I'm following this bridge line, turning and going straight, trying to get the Great Worm up there. And he's just stuck. He cannot move into the open water. So Sacred just collapses the bridge, and instead of it doing fall damage for potentially doing a crit on the Great Worm, we found out that if the bridge collapses on top of a unit, it automatically kills it.
Oh, that is brutal.
It gets worse.
How? You just lost some mech instantly.
So we're playing with double blind, and I had an armored hover personnel carrier, and I thought I hit it well, but apparently I misjudged where his dragon was and accidentally gave him free line of sight in short range on a low TMM number to the armored personnel carrier that gets blown out of the water. But that's not
Oh,
even the worst part. So, um, we're we're moving fast forwarding. Um, as I'm getting the gargoyle further up with my elementals, okay? Just picture that gargoyle still under the water, moving further up, and the Jenner 2C is laying prone, waiting for his turn. He can't be hit. He's got the aerospace fighters, the Bat Hawk, and something else. They're flying in and off the board, but the Jenner is perfectly fine, basically safe. So,
except from the aerospace fighters.
correct. So, the Bat Hawk reappears on the map, but it looks like the Jenner is still hidden. So I'm like, well, maybe, the angle's weird or something because the Jenner's kind of prone next to some level one. Maybe the Badhawk can't see him because it says that he's hidden. As it turns out, he wasn't hidden because the Badhawk needed a 5 with an AC 10 and
Oh,
punches the right torso of the Jenner.
yeah, as we know, that thing's got zero freaking armor.
Yeah, and that didn't help. Um, so I realize, well, he's screwed, so let me get the Jenner to stand up. And then the Atlas needs a 10 with the Gauss rifle to hit, does an 11, and blows off the left torso of the Jenner.
Oh,
follows it up with an LRM 20 needing 10, hits the Jenner and destroys it.
Oh man. Ooh, that is brutal. So you've lost the gladiator, you've lost the great worm, you lost the Jenner. All you've got left is the gargoyle and the elementals on the gargoyle, if I'm not mistaken, because you already lost the APC as well.
Correct, and they're slowly moving up. And again, it gets worse. So,
Oh no.
as bad as it was losing the Great Worm, as bad as it was all the through armor crits on the Gladiator, as bad as it was for the Jenner making a misplay and it getting nuked and then followed up with tens. So I finally get in range where I can start getting up on the hill for the gargoyle to at least do like literally anything. So I'm like, maybe I can get up here where he knows where it is because it's moving so slow in the water with the sensor return. Maybe I can dump the elementals and they can, play chase the elemental for a little bit. That's always going to be fun. At one point, I'm a hex below, he's a hex above, but I can see his legs, but he can't point his weapons down to shoot me. But he's blocking my path, and there's not really anywhere for me to go. So I'm just shooting his legs and punching his legs, trying to, get him out of the way so I can move my gargoyle upstream. My elementals are still useless if I detach them, they'll drown.
Yeah.
He decides that, well, that's a really low targeting number, and does a death from above with the Crockett
Well, you're in the water?
while I'm in the water.
Oh no.
So the Crockett misses and ends up blowing off its left arm because it breaches and gets a breach on the left torso. And okay, I'm okay with this. My gargoyle gets displaced
Yeah, I was gonna say, but you get pushed one hex back.
under the bridge.
Oh no.
And guess what? It can't go anywhere except following the bridge line. So you know
Ah,
what happens the next turn when I move exactly one hex under the bridge line?
he shoots the bridge and kills your gargoyle instantly?
Comes down, kills the gargoyle, kills the elementals, game.
Oh man. Okay. So all right. Yeah, I agree. With your list, this was definitely the worst map you could have picked. Because you have 3 walking mechs. Well, the gargoyle can jump, or not the gargoyle, the gladiator can jump, but not enough to make it matter. Uh, because I don't think you can make it to the other side with the 4 jump. No, you can't. Oh wait,
No.
no, 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 you could. One, two,
You could do
three,
some little island
right
hopping.
here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. You could make it there. Uh, but you know, it's not great.
No, and you still have to survive 10 through armor crits. And if I chose the land bridge, I probably would have been a little bit better off.
Well,
But
you wouldn't have died instantly. You would have died, maybe that same turn or the turn after when you tried to stand up in the
mhm,
water with like +8 from the freaking torrent.
yeah, it was by turn 2, I already knew the game was over. But, got to play it out to hopefully get at least some partial points and some kills. And it just kept happening. And life just kept happening. And it was very, very. I'm glad I had a good teammate that I've played with before who is a great sport because I was definitely not. I wasn't an unsportsmanship person, but I definitely was not the cheery type on voice chat.
Oh no, I mean it's hard to be happy when you're getting tabled from freaking water and a bridge collapsing on you twice. Uh,
Mhm.
but uh, that being said, uh, at least you played it out and didn't just quit after getting critted out 10 times on the same mech.
Mhm. Yeah.
Sometimes the dice just say no, and this was one of those times.
Very, very humbling dice experience. But at least at the end of it, Sigurd was like, we could redo this because that's kind of bullcrap with the bridge. But I was like, listen, I got two of your mechs crippled. You had some really good shots, it probably wouldn't have turned out any different. We'll just play it as is.
That's fair enough. I mean, it's brutal. It's Tukkayid, and I wasn't expecting to get our teeth kicked in this hard, but I wasn't expecting to win realistically either as a clan player.
No, I took mechs that I had never taken or intentionally was dissatisfied with because I still wanted to try them in a relatively fun environment. And holy crap, I realized why I don't take like all of these except the gargoyle.
Yeah, the gargoyle's solid. Yeah, we'll get into mech or indoor list review toward the end here. Uh,
So far we're both 0 for 3.
yep, and we're about to go into round four. I play the speed bump, who I think is a newer player. And I will tell you up front, he was definitely not a speed bump. I felt more like a speed bump in this match.
Are you talking like when your car goes over it and there's that scraping noise and the engine stops?
Yeah, this speed bump definitely, did some damage. So this mission, if I'm not mistaken, is straight up have more units surviving at the end of the match. We'll pull up the actual objective. So each clan player, regardless of their faction, blah blah blah. No, that's the wrong point. Here we go. The final mission is a variation on stand up fight. No ties are possible in this mission. Either the attacker or defender will earn the objective win. So less than 50% of clan player controlled forces at the end of the match, clan player wins. More than 50% clan player destroyed at the end of the match, inner sphere wins. So again, you have to go ahead, Pirate.
This is all about BV, so it's not by unit count, it's BV.
Yeah, this one is BV. So the objective is technically switching up on us again. We go from unit count to BV to, surviving to doesn't matter if you're in forced withdrawal to no, you have to have BV percentage this time. The objectives were a little all over the place this go. I'm playing the speed bump. He's got a pair of guillotines. He's got a jump 8 spider. I think this is the 2 medium pulse laser version, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a planet lifter, which for the first time in a match actually fucking does something useful. And we'll get into that in a little bit. He's got a Shadowhawk and a Trebuchet. And there's also an awesome 9Q, I'm pretty sure, that you can't see, that's poached or perched on top of a level 12 hex that's way over here in the corner off the top of the map. Just poking away with those PPCs. And I think it's skill 2, if I'm not mistaken. At the bare minimum, it's skill 3. So the point of this match is to survive. And since the speed bump is a newer player, I wanted to at least make it a sporting match. So I decided to go over the top in World War One terms and just charge him and make a game of it. Realistically, as the clan player, you just need to not die and survive. What I should have done if I were playing to win tryhard mode was go prone behind a level 1, cover hex and wait for him to come to me and then spring out once he's close enough and I can overwhelm him with more numbers because there's no way his awesome is going to be keeping up with his medium max. But I decided against that because that's not very sportsmanlike, even though it is the optimal play. So I charge him and I get some early lucky crits. He gets some decent shots in early, doesn't really make much progress in the early on in the match. I do take out, I think, his Centurion or his no, it was not the Trebuchet. I'm sorry, the Shadowhawk with the ammo explosion fairly early in the match. So I'm up early. He's got a long tom shooting at me as well. So there's another reason why I didn't really want to drop prone level 1 behind a hill on my match or on my side of the map. So I say if I'm on top of him, his long tom can't really shoot at me safely without risking hitting his own units as well. So I get into as close range as I possibly can. The guillotines are just meatballs. The trebuchet isn't really that tanky. The spider's annoying, chasing my peregrine, staying in the rear arc of the peregrine for most of the match. I decide that I'm going to use this hill to my advantage and try to give myself level 2 cover to block shots from the awesome as much as I possibly can. And I do a decent job of it. Like right there, you can see the peregrine uh, hiding behind level 2. The Ryukin is right here between all these forests. I think he might be behind level 1 or level 2. The Stooping Hawk's way over here. And the elementals are just creeping up after I dropped them in places where they were safe, trying to get shots off on the guillotines and the trebuchet. I do end up trying to focus down the trebuchet next because that's the easiest target, realistically. It's not that quick, it doesn't have that much armor. And I go for a DFA with the Peregrine onto the Awesome to try and knock him down off the perch and keep him from firing at the rest of my units for a turn or two. So that way I have some breathing room. And I go all in. The dragonfly has taken some hits. I think I got a I fell and took like a leg crit or something, or a hip crit. I'm pretty sure because I didn't really want to jump with him. The Ryukin just get some decent shots off. And here you can see the Planet Lifter doing something really fucking useful and one-shotting one of my squads of battle armor with a bomb. Not the damaged squad of battle armor, the fresh squad of battle armor. So the BSP's paying dividends here for a speed bump, just eliminating one of my units outright. And there's not really much I could do about it. Battle armor can't even shoot back at the thing. I tried. So I'm down a unit straight up, which isn't much BV percentage, but elementals are very key when it comes to zone control. And now I'm down to one squad, which is not good, especially because the squad is already damaged. So the Peregrine lands the DFA, kicks the Awesome off of his perch. Doesn't really do much damage to him, no crits or anything. And if I do get a crit, it's probably going to hit a heat sink. The Awesome's just a brick wall. So I decide to focus down the two guillotines after picking off the trebuchet. And he ends up giving me shots with the spider. I was able to torso twist and shoot him with a medium pulse and an ER medium with the Stooping Hawk, and then turn and hit him with the Gauss rifle and all of the ER mediums on the Ryukin and just delete the spider off the map because he did not keep his TMM up. I think he moved like 3 or 4 hexes and had a 1 or 2 TMM, which is a death sentence for a spider, as you can see by that squish mark behind the Stooping Hawk. But it did draw fire away from his two guillotines for a turn, and I just try to focus them down one at a time. One of them, I think, gets knocked out or gyroed or something, and I just can't kill it quick enough with the damage that I have because I don't have the elementals to go for the aim shots, or both sets. I only have the one set, and I'm trying to distract and deal with the awesome as best as I can. I lose the Ryukin. I think he burrowed through the torsos and just eliminated it. And now I've got the jacked up. Oh no, I lost the Dragonfly. Sorry, it had already taken the hip crit. I've got the Ryukin and the Stooping Hawk. The Peregrine lost a leg when I did that DFA, so the Awesome just kind of squished it after that. So it wasn't really worth it. Planet Lifter comes back. I don't think it does much, and then he gets some decent shots off on me. I'm losing initiative, which is not good, especially when you have the faster mechs and you're fishing for rear shots. I finish off one of his guillotines, but he gets some really good shots off with that like 2 skill awesome and just burrows into the Ryukin. I think he's down and out right now. I'm missing an arm and I can only prop myself up with an arm, and I have no torso weapons. So the Ryukin is literally useless at this point unless I can stand up. And I keep trying to stand up, and he doesn't do it. I don't think before he dies. Yeah, there he goes, immobile. I immobilized myself. I think I critted out my gyro or made myself go unconscious. And he takes out the Stooping Hawk. It's literally just my elementals left. I'm jumping around, poking his guillotine, trying to get as much battle value as I can. Uh, and he ends up winning the match because I go down to technically 0% battle value, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I'm at 0.33% battle value because I've got one squad member left and it's round 14. I thought I had one more round, but it ended because I guess I'm technically at 0% battle value, even though I have 0.33 in addition to it. So he ends up tabling me for everything but one dude in a battle armor squad who was just jumping around being annoying, trying to kill a guillotine with a single flamer. Uh, and it was another devastating loss for the clans here. Uh, yeah, not a good match. Well, I mean, it was a good match, but not a good match for the clans. We ended up just duking it out and brawling with each other. I did make some questionable decisions. I probably shouldn't have DFA'd the Awesome with the Peregrine, at least not that early into the match. Instead, I should have jumped behind it and started unloading into his rear armor with those LRM5s that are just tickling him, or just ignore that Awesome and just stay behind those level 2 hexes because there's plenty of them, as you can see, and it would force the Awesome to have to walk forward and get within minimum range to even get shots off if I just played it smarter. And like level 5, level 7, I could have stayed here all day and that Awesome would have never been able to touch me. Uh, so I had options and I didn't really utilize them as best as I could. Instead, I went for the YOLO path and paid the price for it. But he played well, and it was a good game overall.
There's a certain amount of YOLO you have to do just to enjoy the game at all.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, another loss for the clans. I go 0-4 for the first time I've ever played in an event, and it was brutal to say the least. So, Pirate, how did your round 4 go? Don't tell me it
So,
went worse than mine.
so we're gonna start off by saying that I played Many Voices, and the last time I played Many Voices, I took a nice dual thug TSM list against him and got wrecked. And part of it's from trying to play too aggressive too early, but was looking forward to a rematch because it was really enjoyable the last time we played. But he took a very balanced list. So he took still 6 units, but all of them were between 1 and 2,000 BV. So they're all very similar. No massive heavy hitters like my Gladiator taking up 40% of my list, but he had a Battlemaster 2C, that Royal Black Knight, a Guillotine 3N, Grasshopper 5N, which is a nice combo, the Exterminator 4D, and a Vulcan 5T.
Ooh, is that the grasshopper with all those pulse lasers?
I think it's just the medium lasers, but what is interesting too, he elected to do 4-3 on piloting instead of 3-4, so he had better pilots rather than gunnery.
Oh, wow. Well, he knows what he's about.
He does, because those are some big chunky guys, and they can kick, they can punch, so that's a lot of armor on the field I'm going to have to eat through.
Yeah, definitely. And they can jump. At least some of them can.
No, just about almost all of them.
Yeah,
Except
what you said, quick draw, grasshopper, right?
no. So Grasshopper, Guillotine,
Guillotine, that's what
Exterminator,
it was.
Exterminator, and Vulcan.
Okay, yeah, no, they all jump. Good lord.
Yep. So I elected to deploy on the right-hand side of the map and let him take the west. So there's a nice open field in the middle, and my goal wasn't so much to turtle, but it was I have clan pulse lasers, UAC 2s, LBX 5s. I'm going to let him come to me as much as I can.
Ah, so
Now,
you played it smart.
I tried to, because I'm 0-3 so far, and Many Voices was also 0-3. So this is like dog eat dog situation at the bottom here.
That's right. Try to get something.
Yep. So as we're closing, he is bolting his units as fast as he can towards the middle of the map into cover. I'm walking mine as slow as I can to try to get as good shots as possible. And turn one, score multiple good hits. I only needed sevens and eights, but score multiple good hits on his Battle Master. Start stripping away the armor on it, and he in return gets some good shots. ERPPCs. My Great Worm soaks two of them, including a through armor crit, which luckily didn't hit anything. But the
Surprisingly.
yeah, but the grasshopper falls, taking damage. He lands on his head, taking more damage. So he's already racking up 2 pilot hits before the end of turn one.
Yeah, that seatbelt check is very important. And yeah, you do not want to get above 2 to 3 head hits. Once you get 4 head hits, it's very likely that you're going to stay on nap time for the rest of the match.
Yep. So turn two, cavalry attack helicopter, which is probably one of the better BSPs that I ignored to my peril, closes in and starts dumping SRMs on that expensive gladiator. He starts backing up the Battle Master because it took some pretty good beatings on its front arc. So I switch targets to the guillotine, try to strip some armor off of that. And I know it's a brick S house, but if I'm going to be hitting them fives to the guillotine or sevens and eights to everything else, unless it's the Vulcan, I'm going to take the bird in the hand here. I got to play it conservative.
Yeah, and it's a guillotine. It should have an SRM6 or something that you can maybe get lucky and hit the ammo on.
That's what I was thinking. That there's ammo in it somewhere, even though I think this one had case, but there's probably ammo somewhere. LBX, I'm not going to have great shots later, so try to take out the attack helicopter with it because I had a good arc shot, managed to knock out 2 of its rotors, so it's a bit less of a threat, but not enough for it to be off the board. He had some bad target numbers. I don't know what I did, but he's like firing on 12s and 11s for most of the first 2 turns to my mechs.
Well, remember, he's got that 4 gunnery, so he's starting at a higher base.
He's got 4 gunnery and he's sprinting.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So as we get into turn 3, I back my gladiator up over elevation. Need a 4, roll a snake eyes. Gladiator
Oh,
falls.
no.
Falls, left arm, left leg, take damage.
That's better than the torso.
Attack helicopter comes in, needs 12, rolls 12, hits the head, blacks out the great worm.
Oh, on Snake Eyes?
No, needed, yeah, no, yeah, I needed 7 to stay conscious because I already took 2 head hits, and I
Oh,
rolled,
that's right.
but I still rolled a 3, so I'm not really doing any favors there.
Oh, that is brutal.
I played it wrong with my gargoyle and the elementals, so I bolted him in the field and dumped the elementals, thinking that he was going to take the easy shots on the gladiator, which was down. Instead, those elementals paid with their lives to distract some fire, and multiple troopers, I think 4 of the troopers, died that turn because they had no TMM.
Oh, man, that is brutal.
Yeah, the I'm scrolling through the log here, looking for anything, any shining things. He did miss quite a few shots, but the blacked out great worm, he gets the Vulcan of all things on it, kicks it in the head, and finishes it off.
Ooh, yeah, the Vulcan is a surprisingly nasty mech. I think it jumps for 7 40 tonner with a bunch of small weapons on it, generally speaking.
Yeah, people play it like a brawler. It is not a panther. It's not a long range sniper, nor is it, a hunchback. But people try to play it the way you're not supposed to. So somebody that knows what they're doing like that, where it can rush in and exploit vulnerabilities, that was a really good call.
Yeah, think of it as a 40-ton spider.
So starting turn 4, my Great Worm is dead. My elementals are pretty much gone except for 1 trooper. My gladiator's on the floor, and I've got 5 of the 6 inner sphere mechs basically within about 10 hexes of me, and this attack helicopter's still buzzing around.
That does not sound like a good situation to be in unless you start getting real, real lucky.
So that Jenner that I mentioned was doing good in practice. It gets behind the Battle Master on the other side of the map. This whole game, it's just been jumping seven into some trees along the southern edge, going as far as it can. It gets behind the Battle Master, SRM-6, through armor crit on the rear, hits the anti-missile system ammo, cook,
Ooh,
cooks it off, and ends up causing auto eject. So always turn off your auto eject, everybody.
I honestly at that point I don't think it would have mattered unless he had case in a standard engine because that probably would have destroyed the mech regardless.
Might have, but then further follow up hits from the SRM ended up not going internal, but they probably would have knocked him over at that point.
Gotcha. But yeah,
Um,
no, remember, ammo explosions do damage directly to structure. They bypass the armor.
yeah, it's true. This one's saying it's taking more damage to the left torso and center torso, taking out engines. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, that's surprising. AMS ammo bin goes up. Liability.
Yeah, I had that in Tukkayid Heat, the original one with AMS on my Direwolf. Same thing.
Ooh.
But so we're in this one though. So my gladiator stands up, not falling somehow. It soaks a couple more hits, but they don't hit that left torso again. Um, End up doing return fire, getting some good scores. Nothing to write home about other than just decent shots off to whittle down some armor. The Vulcan ends up critting a through armor crit on the left arm of that gladiator, taking out a pulse laser, so I'm down. But you know what? It's okay. That right arm is fine. We're getting so close in range that I'd be switching over to the medium lasers instead of the large pulse lasers anyway.
Really? Even though they get that -2?
They get that -2, but if I'm going to run into heat issues, I'd rather do more damage with less heat expenditure. You know, maybe I fire two of the large pulses and four mediums instead of three large pulses and one medium, something like that.
That's fair. It is more damage overall firing those ZR mediums, especially if you have decent numbers to hit already.
Yep. And the gladiator gets one level above the Black Knight at this point because the Black Knight bolted forward, but he was still in that ditch in the middle of the map. And instead of retreating my gladiator, I ran him straight up and end up kicking the head off of the Black Knight in the melee
Oh,
phase.
brutal. Damn.
Yep. So I got two mechs there, and in return, he ends up stomping on my last elemental to kill him.
Gotcha. So you got two big mechs. You lost your elementals. You lost the Great Worm, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And the Jenner is still intact. You still have the Gladiator. And is that it? No, you
And
still have the Gargoyle.
Gargoyle. Correct. And I'm starting to keep an eye on the BV calculator here because it doesn't matter how much of him I destroy, I still need to preserve BV. And at this point, my Gladiator and my Gargoyle are pretty much in the middle of the map. Oh, and somewhere I have the APC, but that's not important right now.
Yeah, it's only like 100 battle value. That's not going to make or break the match.
Yep. And I decide to zip the APC around to try to get a cheeky shot on one of his units, end up failing a PSR, sliding and crashing into the side of the mountain, and it gets picked off the next turn. Like, there's not much to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect for 175 battle value?
Yep. So we start closing again. I'm trying to back up my gladiator to give him a little breathing room towards the east side of the map, while the gargoyle goes towards the north side of the map. Again, just to space out a bit. Gargoyle gets some good shots on the exterminator. Goes internal, starts ripping apart the right arm and left arm, so freeing up some weapons. Um, Guillotine gets internal on the left arm of my gladiator. We exchange a couple more shots. nothing really to note other than the gladiator falls again, takes
Oof.
another through armor crit again to the center torso, but luckily he didn't actually roll a crit, just roll the crit chance.
See, you can't lose them all. At least when it comes to the crit rolls.
Nope. So Gargoyle kicks the Vulcan, gets him in the leg. Exterminator kicks the Gladiator, gets in the left torso, goes internal, takes out the mask. And remember, the I need to keep 50% of my force alive, and that Gladiator is 41% of it.
Yes, and he's already taken some pilot hits.
Mhm. So, turn six. At this point, I'm down to 62% BV to his 54. I can only lose 12% more BV. Plane lifter
Cutting it
comes in.
close.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Plane lifter comes in, drops three bombs. Two of them miss. One of them ends up hit the gladiator in the leg. Goes internal but doesn't crit. Uh, Gargoyle. I think the Vulcan tried to sneak up on him, so he flipped his arms and just unloaded those SRMs. Just it's just red. It's a whole screen and a half of just red head hits, taking out heat sinks, jump jets. Yeah. Follow up with the uh, Gladiator hitting the Exterminator, takes out anti missile system ammo again, and
Ooh,
auto eject triggers, and the Exterminator goes up in the air.
dang. That's two AMS ammo bins in one match. That's hard to watch.
It is. Guillotine comes in, gets a head hit on the Gladiator. Thank goodness he doesn't knock out. Jenner gets a couple hits on the Vulcan. Vulcan falls, needed an 8 to stay standing, rolled a 2. And
Oof.
yeah, by the start of the next turn, after he destroys my armored personnel carrier, Gargoyle just goes in, tries to finish off that Vulcan, takes out more pages of red, gyros, jump jets, engines. Doesn't kill it though.
Huh.
But other than that, turn 7 is more of a recouping turn, scrape some armor off the guillotine. That's all. But turn 8, start of turn 8, I'm down to 59% BV. Running close. The punchline on that is I end up taking out the Vulcan with some LBX ammo. I think it was on the floor. I don't think it was blacked out, but I had some real low to hit numbers. And in exchange, take some more fire. Gargoyle starts ripping into the guillotine's leg. Or no, actually, yeah, he was a level above the guillotine and knocks him over. He falls.
Oof.
Yeah. So following turn, some more exchanges of fire. It goes internal with a through armor crit, taking out my LBX on the gargoyle, which actually was a good thing. I'm never usually going to say critting out my own weapon is good, but at the end of the match, we'll explain why.
All right, because I'm like, whoa, hey, that's battle value. Battle value you are losing that you can't really afford to lose.
hmm Um, Gargoyle, at least in exchange, gets the gyro, an engine, a bunch of other crap on the guillotine and starts unloading inferno rounds on it. So guillotine falls, doesn't black out, but is in rough shape. Take out the helicopter. My gargoyle is kind of running back and forth from the middle of the map to the western edge to pot shot at the guillotine and the grasshopper. Gargoyle is just, or sorry, the gladiator is just jumping north as much as it can to put distance between it and the guillotine and the grasshopper because it's got that exposed torso and I don't want engine hits and I don't want to lose the battle value of those pulse lasers either.
Yeah, definitely.
So pulse laser destroys the cavalry attack helicopter. Jenner, more crits, and this is skipping several turns. It's basically the Jenner coming in, doing as many crits as it can. Gladiator sniping, doing more crits on the guillotine, which just won't effing die. But towards the end of the match, I'm running out of ammo. I'm running out of SRMs. So I just start firing Infernos. That's all I really got. End up shutting down the Grasshopper at some point, ending up shutting down the Guillotine. It's immobile. Um, do a small laser from the Gargoyle, finally destroys another engine on the Guillotine. And yeah, the Grasshopper um, pings the Grasshopper, ends up going unconscious. He falls. Can't keep him down, but at one point he needed like tens to hit my gladiator, and he makes it, and I panic thinking, oh crap, he's going to go internal. Luckily he doesn't. But yeah, it was a small laser, ended up blacking out that Grasshopper. But we get to the end of round 15. We went all the way on this. That's why I kind of skipped those last couple turns. It's basically just grinding and taking pot shot. But we get to round 15. I'm going to pull out a calculator here.
I was gonna say this is it. Do or die.
So it's 50% of BV, not 10,000, but 50% of what you started with.
Yep.
The reason I'm happy about getting that LBX critted is I probably would have shot all that LBX ammo all game if I could. I needed to have 4991 BV to get exactly 50%. I ended up with 5033 BV or 50.42%. So
By 0.42%.
yeah, 42 BV. I don't know what the ammo cost, per shot is on LBX5 cluster or solid slug, but 42 BV is the difference of uh, victory or not on that match.
That is as close of a margin as I've seen ever. I mean, it can't be a tie. Someone's got to win. And by 0.42% is, yeah, doesn't get any closer than that.
No, I'm going to remember that one. And, if you didn't have auto eject on, maybe those pilot hits would have blacked him out instead of ejecting. Who knows? That probably played a pretty big part of it. But also just some lucky shots he had wore me down a lot faster. And then also some good shots I had on his units, and just the map in general was very open. It was a very good game. Thoroughly enjoyed it. As always, Many Voices a great player, even though we kind of realized by about turn 7 and 8 this is going to end up with a kiting game for the objective. But yeah, literally every time he fired and I saw that something hit, I was like, "This is it! This is it!"
Clenching those cheeks, man.
Oh yeah, but eventually scored one, so we ended up 1-3 for the tournament.
Nice. At least you got an objective win on one of your matches, which is more than I can say.
This was probably the roughest tournament I've done, but I'm okay with it. I had fun, even though I complain about that damn gladiator and his left torso and 20 points of armor there. Or just the Great Worm in general failing like every single piloting roll and leaving its cockpit door open. Or the Gargoyle just flailing around and not doing squat for half the game.
Yeah, no, that is pretty brutal. There was some definitely bad dice juju going on there.
For sure. I need to do the whole like shut down and reboot my computer mid game just to try to exercise some demons and try to trick Princess into thinking I'm a different person.
Or maybe reinstall Megamech, give yourself a fresh start. Well, I mean, that sums up our matches. How do you think the list performed as a whole? If you want, we can pull that back up, or you can just say what you liked or didn't like. I mean, the Gladiator, as you mentioned, was hit or miss, mostly missing.
Oh yeah, mostly missing. Hot, trash, expensive, poorly uh, distributed armor, and while I had firepower is no good if I only get to use it like for 2 turns, and then my mech's dead with still tons of armor untouched in other places.
Yeah, I can agree with that there.
Yeah, so I'll say I might run a Gladiator B because it's a completely different mech without mask. But as far as the Gladiator itself, that's going to be reserved for Alpha Strike for quite some time, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say the Gladiator B is superior because it doesn't have that mask and it's not paying that premium for double movement.
Yeah, I would run a Gen 2C again. It was a nice little fun toy to pull out and do Infernos to unexpectedly on units with that Jump 7. Um, Gladiator, or sorry, Gargoyle Prime. Yeah, I'll run that again. Elementals, they're just not my style. I'll leave those at home. Great Worm, you're a nice sentimental piece. You don't belong in competitive play for this map size. And yeah, that's about all there is to say to it.
Yeah, that's fair. A fair assessment. I get elementals aren't for everybody, and especially if you're a clan player, that means you have to make up for it in other ways. Maybe taking cheap vehicles like you did with that APC or whatever to help bring your numbers up for initiative purposes. Uh,
I don't know any clan vehicle lovers. I hear people call out some things. I like the Pike Support Plasma vehicle. That was fun. But maybe that's something I need to explore instead. Is just, I don't do vehicles much in general because I like my stompy robots, but there's probably something there.
yeah, I'm with you there as well. If it's not a VTOL, I'm probably not bringing a vehicle. I will say though, I know Vapor is fond of his Eponas, which are a clan Omni vehicle. So that might be something to look into if Vapor likes it. But that being said, my list, the Peregrine didn't really pull his weight for 1500 battle value. It's far too expensive for what you get. 696 is a good movement profile, but the weapons, 6 LRM5s, just didn't do enough to justify 1500 battle value. I think I would have gotten more use out of another set of battle armor, realistically. Drop the Peregrine, throw battle armor, and then drop gunnery and or piloting for that other 1,000 battle value that I could have gotten out of that Peregrine.
What I
Uh,
heard was the Peregrine was in short range a lot of the time.
it was. I was playing it like it was the Viper C when it wasn't. Uh, it was dancing between short and medium range. So yeah, I had good target numbers, but target numbers don't matter when you're plinking for 2 or 3 damage, like 4 or 5 times. It just didn't have enough damage, and I didn't really get that much opportunity. I did DFA with it a couple times, but I didn't get an opportunity to go for that decisive push because it's got free hands. It can push a mech off of a cliff or off the map or into water, and the opportunity just never arose to really do that. But it's still way too expensive for what it did. Honestly, the elementals, I like my elementals. They're fine. They definitely perform their task when I let them do it properly, and I didn't have them on the wrong damn mech. Stooping Hawk is solid. It's not as heat efficient as I like my mechs to be. There's a ER medium laser that basically never gets fired unless I walk and I don't double tap that AC10, when I could just double tap the AC10 for 3 heat instead of shooting that ER medium for 5 heat. Go for that chance of 10 damage instead of the chance for 7. Dragonfly, solid mech, versatile between the flamers and the ER mediums. It performed well. The Ryukin TC, I was also a little bit disappointed in. All the weapons in the arms mean if you lose an arm, there goes half of your damage output, if not more. And that happened to me multiple times. Losing arms just crippled this mech's performance. To be fair, round one, I didn't really get to use it that much because it was dead on round three to a Gauss rifle round through the cockpit. And the rounds where I did get to keep it alive and it was functioning for most of the match, it still didn't quite perform as well as I would like 2,600 battle value to perform. Like I probably could have brought a Gargoyle Prime and something else on top of that for this battle value. Uh, so maybe not the TC next time I bring a Ryukin. I'll try another variant and see if I can make it work. 6-9 movement profile is good, but I don't think it's good enough. You're not at the break point where you're getting that extra TMM like the Peregrine with the 696. I just maybe 6-9 is not for me. Maybe I need 5-8s or 8-12s and just stick to those two movement profiles.
I'm noticing that in practicing for Brawl and Bluegrass with a Centurion that does 6'9". I really want that speed. I don't seem to be capitalizing on it, so it's mostly wasted potential compared to like a 5'8".
Yeah, especially at the 55-ton range. It's not efficient to get to 6-9. You're better off sitting around at 5-8 and using that and extra tonnage on weapons and or armor instead of engine tonnage. Well, that does it for our lists. How do you feel about the event overall, Pirate, before we close it up here?
I always applaud creativity, so I know that this was not put together in a rush, but it was put together quite quickly to make sure that we still had an event going for everybody that was originally planning on Dragon Slayer. Um, I do like the risks taken with the asymmetrical missions because we haven't done that. I do like that it was narrative focused so that, um, it was less tournament. It was less about declaring a single winner. It was more about getting games in and having fun. So I thought that was all great change of pace, especially since we just came off multiple tournaments previously. So I had fun. I think we should be mixing in narrative events, and they do give a opportunity to explore more things that could be unbalanced but fun, kind of like Rachel's event. Um, I do enjoy the you know ideas that are pushed around.
Yeah, I will agree. This event was fun. It's just that the adaptation of some of the missions and the wording, it just wasn't what we're used to, and the mission objectives shifting from battle value percentage to units alive to units surviving to units, not crippled, or commanders killed but not crippled but still on the map. But the objectives just I didn't feel were consistent in the way that they were worded and or what they were asking you to do in the match. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I had problems with them. Granted, I'm an MRC veteran, so my reading comprehension is at an all-time low, and it's only going further, starting to dig a hole now. So most of that is on me. I will admit I definitely read some of the missions completely wrong, and I definitely made some flubs in deployment and actual playing. But that being said, I did like the overall, hey, this is your team and your faction. This is how your team and faction are doing. It's just too bad that my team and faction were getting their butts kicked the whole time.
No, and you know what? We all learned something from that, and my prediction for the event was totally off. When I saw who was going clan, I was worried the clanners would just come in and raffle stomp everybody. But having seen the results, uh, I am glad we didn't have to deal with BSPs on the clan side. Like, we just go in with mechs and not have to worry about it. It was interesting to see attempts at replicating those into Mega Mech, but yeah, I was definitely wrong with my prediction of how the event was going to go.
Yeah, so was I. But my prediction went out before I got to look at the missions, really. I just figured, oh, hey, we're clans. It's Tukkayid. Well, not all of, but a lot of the veteran players are going clan. Clans are going to kick butt. And I didn't really weigh in on the BSPs. I didn't factor them in because Princess was controlling them, and I didn't expect them to do much. And the majority of the time, they didn't. But there were some instances, like the headshot on my Peregrine and the bomb that just wiped out a full squad of elementals, where they were definitely a huge impact on the match. And those are matches that I lost, arguably because of those events that happened from Princess. So they did swing the results at the end of the day. And the clans didn't get any BSPs, so it was definitely favored, balance wise out the gate for the Intersphere players. Even without the BSPs, I'm pretty sure I would have lost a couple of those matches, hands down. But I may have had better odds without the BSPs in some of the matches where they actually made an impact.
And that's part of just being so hard to try to balance non-symmetrical things. BV, I'm always a big proponent of BV as a great balancer, but when you're trying to balance, A, this is Tukkayid, so these are things that happened in Tukkayid. So going Clanner was almost harder by default, even though you had the weapon superiority. But B, that is just really, really, really hard to try to balance. Uh, the non-symmetrical missions.
Yeah, I mean, and we had build restrictions too, so we couldn't really take advantage of some of the best clan mechs that are full of pulse lasers that may have made the difference, like a Gargoyle D with 5 medium pulse lasers and a target computer on 2 heavy mediums. Like that's a really efficient mech, but it's over our pulse limit, so we can't take it.
True.
But they definitely had those on Tukiyid, I'm pretty sure.
So now we need to go elect a new Ilkon and try again next year, right?
Yeah, that's right. Ilkon definitely ain't going to be Ghost Bear. I think it's either going to be Wolf or Jade Falcon, unfortunately. Ugh.
I think Wolf was struggling, so Jade Falcon. I think we still got the last couple reports to come in, but I think Jade Falcons are
Uh,
going to let us know about how humble they are that they had a massive lead going into the last game.
well, as of 2 hours ago, an update from DV&ID, Clan Wolf had a massive showing this week so far, threatening to overtake Smoke Jags, I think, who are in the lead. And at this point, I think I'd rather have the Smoke Jags win, just because.
Fair.
Well, I think we've rambled on long enough. What do you think, Pirate?
I think so. This is eventually going to get to the crying in our beer situation.
Yep, yep. That being said, I definitely enjoyed playing. Don't get me wrong. Even getting my butt kicked, I'd still rather be playing and losing than not playing at all. Uh, so I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. I think next month is gonna. Well, actually, Falcon Heat starting up right now. Actually, it's going on. I just started today or yesterday or something like that.
Yep, and two of the people I played against I'd never played before, and one of them I'd only played once, and thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to play with more than just the regulars that end up in my same time zone. So it was good.
Yeah, me as well. I think I've played Inept once or twice before, but I think everybody else, the Speed Bump, Dragon Noob, and Whitworth, I've never played them before. So it was definitely good to play other people for sure. With that being said, it's getting late. I think we need to hit the hay, Pirate.
Yep, because I got to be up for work in 4 hours, so I will catch you
Oof,
later.
me too. Good night, everybody. See you next time.